Okay, so we're not going to do a lot. The first thing that I want to speak about is because I am now on page 11, multiples and factors. So first things first, and we have spoken about some of it. We said factors are, what are factors?
Factors that can be divided.
It can divide in without having a remainder. Oh, divide, is it in the I? Sorry. Is it like that? Huh? Divide in without having a remainder. Okay, now let's use an example. Factors of 8. So basically, we look at what can divide into 8. Now, how I do it is I know that it doesn't matter what the number, 1 will always be able to divide it. So I start with 1. 1 is a factor. 1 times what gives you 8? 8. So I start writing it from the outside. So what's the number after 1? 2. Can 2 divide into 8? Yes. 2 times what gives you 8? 4. Okay. Right. What comes after 2? 3. Can 3 divide into 8? No. Then what comes after 3? 4. And can you see 4 is already written down? Which means that I now have done all my factors. Okay, so you just start from 1 and move on up until you get to the number that is already written down. And then you'll know you've got all your factors. So, right. So, sorry? Right, now, we have spoken about, oh no, we haven't spoken about this. Now it says, a number is divisible by another if, after dividing, there's no remainder. That means that it's a factor. Okay. All numbers may be written as a product of their prime factors. You can use a factor tree to write a number as the product of its prime factors. Okay, so prime factors still the same thing. It can divide into that number without having a remainder, but there's an added thing. It's got to be a prime number. No. So meaning it may only be 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, all of those numbers. Now, did you guys know that you can cheat on your calculator?
Yes, ma'am. Cheating is
Right. And how do we do that? We say that, what did you ask? We say the number and then equal. Let's use 8. Okay, so 8 and then equal. Then it's going to give you 8 again. Why do we do that? Just so your calculator recognizes that this is the number that I want you to work with. Then you press Shift Fact. Okay, Shift and then Fact. Now my Fact button is over here. Very cool. Okay, Shift Fact. And then you'll see it gives you 2 to the power of 3. Meaning 8 is the same as 2 to the power of 3. And 2 to the power of 3 is 2 times 2 times 2. So can you see it's also factors of 8? Okay, let's use a bigger number. What about 98? 98, that's going to give you 2 times? Good. 2 times 7 to the power of 2. Okay, so everyone knows how to use your calculator. Now, they say that you can also write this in the form of a factor tree, meaning, have a look. I'm going to use 8 because that's a nice short one. Let's use a different one. 16. So let's say we work with 16. Then what we do is we say 16, what can divide, what's the first prime number that can divide into 16? 2. Okay. So that will be 2 times what is going to give me 16? 8. Okay. Now 2 is already a prime number. Is 8 a prime number? No. So that I've got to break up again. What's the first prime number that will divide into 8? 2. And 2 times what gives me 8? 4. Okay. So 2 is already a prime number. What about 4? Is that a prime number? No. So let's divide that. So first prime number will be 2. 2 times what gives me 4? 2. Okay. So this is already a prime number. And that one will be 2 times 1. So have a look. That means that 16 will be equal to 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Can you see 1, 2, 3, 4 times? Meaning 2 to the power of 4. Okay, so if they were to tell you to get the prime factors of 16, and this part is important, without using a calculator, it means you've got to show me your factor tree, and then you can write this part. Okay, we always go and double check it with our calculator to see whether we worked it out correct. Any questions there? Okay, right, can I skip? Okay, now I want to talk about a highest common factor. But we talk about HCF, okay? Highest common factor. What are you busy with? Put the phone in your bag. Highest common factor. Let's just look at the wording. Highest, obviously the highest number. Common, when we have something in common. Something is the same. Whether we like the same thing or we look the same or we dress the same, there's something that we have in common, right? So the highest number that's the same factor. Okay, highest common factor. Okay, so in the textbook it says the largest common factor for 2 or more numbers is called the highest common factor. Now, how do we work out highest common factor? Let's work it out for 32. Sorry, not for, of 32 and 60. Okay, so I'm going to show you a shortcut. What we do is we first get the prime number, prime factors. Okay, so what would the prime factors of 32 be? Okay, so what we do is 32 on our calculator equal shift fact, and that gives me 2 to the power of 5. But instead of writing 2 to the power of 5, write it out the longer method. So meaning 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. 5 times. Right. Now let's do 60. Get me the prime factors of 60. So 60 equal and then shift fact. What does that give you? 2 to the power of 2, but that I'm going to write as 2 times 2 and then times 3 times 5. Okay, now we just said when we've got something in common, it means something is the same. Now, what is the same over here? Okay, but how many? Can you see 2 times 2? And over here, 2 times 2. Now I can't go further than that because now I've got 3's and there's no more 2's left here. No. So the highest common factor, highest common factor will be 2 times 2, meaning 4. Okay. So whatever is the same for both. Okay. So let's write it in steps. Step 1. Write in prime factors. And then step 2, highest common factor will be that is the same. Okay, nice and easy. Do you guys agree?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so can we do an example where you guys try on your own?
Yes, ma'am.
Get me the highest common factor of 64 No, I want something. No, don't use 64. Sorry. I'm going to use 60. Sorry. And 210. Quickly try and get me the highest common factor of 60 and 210.
No.
You've got to do it. Show me the steps. You guys done?
Yes, ma'am.
You still busy? Okay. You guys, come on. Okay, right. So first things first, we said step 1 is write both those numbers in their prime factors. So 60 would be 2 times 2 times 3 times 5. And 210 will be 2 times 3 times 5 times 7. Now, luckily, the calculator always gives it to you in ascending order, meaning we start with a small number, 2, and we end with a bigger number. Right? Okay, that just makes it easier for you guys to spot what is the same. So can you see both of these have got a 2?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that I know I'm going to use. Then both of these have got a 3.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm going to use that. And they both have a 5. So I'm going to use that. And that is going to give me 30. Okay. So that was nice and easy. He could even have done it out of his head without using these steps, but these numbers are going to become bigger and bigger. Okay. Right. Any questions so far? Okay. Now I want to talk about lowest common multiple. Can I skip? Okay. Okay. Can I now skip? Okay, so now we're talking about the lowest common multiple. In your textbook it says, a multiple is the product of two natural numbers. So if I ask you for the multiples of 3, you're going to say 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. Right? Okay. The multiples of any number are simply the times table for the number. For example, multiples of 12 will be 12, 24, 36, 48, etc. You can find the lowest common multiple, and again, look at the wording. Lowest one, common meaning the same for both, multiple. Okay. Write each number as a product of its prime numbers. So that's going to be our step 1. Put the phone away. You write as a product of the prime numbers. Okay. Then they say the lowest common multiple must contain all the factors from each number without duplication. Any common factors are only used once. So meaning that which is the same for both, I'm only going to use once. So along the way, I then came to the conclusion that we can rather take the highest common factor because that is going to be the same for both. No. And then I'm not duplicating everything. So that highest common factor times the rest. Okay, so let's just look at an example. Let's use the example of a 60 and 100, what was it? 210 just now, eh? This one. Okay, so we said the factors of 60 was 2235. And of 210, it was 2357, right? Okay, so then lowest common multiple will be, the common factor we said was these 2, the 3s, and the 5. Okay, so definitely let's take highest common factor times the rest. So highest common factor was the 2 times the 3 times the 5, which was 30. Then times. Now, look at 60. We already used that too. So I can't use it again. I can now use that too because it wasn't used yet. No? Right. Never mind. Oh, this thing is already on holiday. 3 was used, 5 was used. Let's look at 210. The 2 was used, the 3 was used, the 5 was used. What wasn't used? The 7. So that's the only one that isn't duplicated. Okay. Do you guys understand what I mean when I say highest common factor times the rest? Meaning what wasn't used yet. No. Okay, now this is going to give me how much? What's 60 times? There we go. Thank you. So 420. Have you guys got any questions? Do you want to do one more with common lowest common multiple? Okay. Can I skip?
Yeah.
First he says yes and then no. Okay. Right. So, example. I want the lowest common multiple of 16 and 206. So remember your steps. First write it as prime factors. Right. You guys done? Right. Have a look. If I wrote 16 as a product of its prime numbers, it would be 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Then 206 would just be 2 times 103. So to get the lowest common multiple, I'm going to take the highest common factor, meaning what was the same for both, and that was only the 2, times the rest. What was left over here? 2 times 2 times 2. And what was left over here? 103. So your lowest common lowest common multiple would be 1648. Are you guys good with that? Okay. Right. Anyone copying here? You still okay? There. Your homework for the weekend is on page 11. Exercise 1.3, number 1 up until 5. So that whole exercise. Okay. Yes, it is. It is on the next slide. I just want her to finish copying. Are you done? Okay, people, there's your homework on the slide. Exercise 1.3, that's on page 11. Number 1 up